Alright guys, this presentation is titled A Flawed Peace, and it is about the Treaty of Versailles and the different issues that were going on with the Treaty of Versailles when it was trying to be created. So the first thing we're going to look at is Wilson's 14 points. So Wilson's 14 points was his proposal for peace in the world. So essentially points 1 through 4, his big idea was to end secret treaties, have freedom of the seas and free trade, as well as reduce armies and navies around the world. So essentially he was trying to take measures to essentially install peace worldwide. His fifth point in this proposal was to address colonial claims, meaning that he was thinking that we should not have colonies around the world anymore. Points 6 through 13 was changing borders and creating new nations for the world, so taking away some of the power and land that some countries had and giving it to new nations. And point 14, which is the big one, is General Association of Nations, which actually gets taken into the Treaty of Versailles and is later known as the League of Nations. So while Wilson thought his big plan was brilliant, there was a lot of debate between the Allied nations. For example, Britain and France didn't agree with Wilson whatsoever. They actually thought he was clueless and didn't know what he was thinking. They believed that America shouldn't be involved in this treaty because they're not involved in European affairs. Britain and France themselves were concerned with national security, and they also wanted to strip Germany of war-making power, simply because Germany was so strong that they were scared of what they could potentially do. So that's what their main goal is from the Treaty of Versailles. Now, even though there's debate amongst nations for the Treaty of Versailles, it was agreed upon on June 28, 1919. And one of the points that was taken from Wilson's idea was the League of Nations. So all these nations came together to try to keep world peace. Like Britain and France wanted, Germany lost land and military power, so they're obviously weaker after World War I. Big thing too is Germany was deemed the cause of war guilt, meaning that people saw them as a reason why World War I started. They were the losers of World War I, and because of both of those facts, they were the ones in charge of paying all the bills for World War I. If that wasn't enough, the whole debt issue that Germany is now in from the war, they also lost territories in Africa and in the Pacific. So this peace obviously has a lot of detrimental aspects for Germany, and it's because of that it's known as a peace built on quicksand. Part of the issue too is that the United States actually rejected the Treaty of Versailles. They didn't want to sign it. They didn't believe in what it was saying, so they rejected the treaty. U.S. citizens wanted to stay out of European affairs because that's the only way that they thought they could keep peace in the world. The war guilt clause leads to German resentment, meaning that essentially the Germans are super upset that they have to pay for this war because they don't believe they're the only ones at fault. So this resentment is something that obviously leads to things such as World War II. Now, Africans felt Europeans were trying to gain more land because all the land Germany owned in Africa is now going to European nations, so it's easy to be perceived that way. On the flip side, allies like Japan felt like they didn't get enough land, so they felt like they helped assist the Allies in World War I for essentially nothing because they didn't get the land they thought they deserved. The most important thing is that all these issues are going on and all these problems are going on, and the League of Nations, its original design was to stop all these problems, but without the U.S. approval of the Treaty of Versailles, the League of Nations is actually too weak to solve any issues. So essentially all this work from the Treaty of Versailles is essentially pointless because there's quarrels already, there's problems already, and there's not enough power in the League of Nations to keep peace.